grab a couple of cookies.
Help yourself.
Okay, the
Just
first
take
call
a
of
look.
order is approve the agenda for September 4th. I need a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Second. All those in favor
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
All right. Now approval of the minutes from August 7th. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, did we get a second?
Second.
Okay. All those approved say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, we're on to the next part of the agenda is staff reports. Is that all set out?
Where is your?
Fire department. Front and center.
You guys are more than welcome to come and grab cookies too. Let's keep everybody happy.
Not just for Paul.
It's not just for Paul. This is how we keep Paul happy and
I'll dig mine out.
somewhat blind.
Good luck
Fighting
with that. That's right. Get in here. What do you want? Raisin or chocolate chip or?
We're
You
pretty
can also
straightforward.
turn that, sorry, that's just.
You want a cookie?
Thank you.
Did everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start off with just some of our community risks stuff. Just a reminder to test your smoke alarm monthly. And the batteries need to be replaced every 6 months, and then most of them have a 10-year service life. So be checking those. Also, you got different levels in your house, have a fire extinguisher on each level, and know how to use it. I'll go over some of the training. Now, some of these 9 or so, but we have 2,329 total hours documented company training through the city during July. We had 276 total hours of documented company training at the regional training center. We had 11 hours of documented multi-agency training during June of 2024. We also had a multi-company, multi-day training exercise with the airport, and as far as an airport emergency. Other than that, I just got a couple of fires in the district that I'd like to go over real quick. 700 block of Antler, an accidental fire, was likely an electrical malfunction, possibly involving a light fixture or an exhaust fan. We also had one at the 4,500 block South Hydraulic. It was in a manufactured home. The fire was in a juvenile's bedroom. Yeah, 2 more, I believe, 7,100 block of South Volusia. It's undetermined at the time in a manufactured home. It was also a fatality fire, and on numerous extension cords within the structure, as well as some excessive storage condition. Then the last one is the 1,200 block of 1,200 block of South Market, which is right from fire station number 2. They had a vacant 3-story with heavy fire and smoke on arrival. They also found one deceased on the 3rd floor, but it was unrelated to the fire. That person had already deceased for the fire. That's pretty much all I got for you. Any questions?
Was that natural causes or homicide?
I don't know if they, if they determine anything on that, the fatality on Market. We haven't heard anything yet. That'd be my guess. It could be anything from no D to natural causes. Like,
And I don't see arsons like we were having.
yeah, I don't have any on here.
Rugby does, yeah.
That's great,
I looked for them.
It's,
because there's been a lot.
You might. There's a couple on here that's not in our district.
Yeah.
Or your district.
We were having a lot.
Yeah, we were over there for me.
On dairy, yes.
Yeah.
again, not in our district. Did you know anything about this EV vehicle fire?
The what?
The EV,
Oh,
was that a dealership?
um,
What do you know? 7,000 block East Kellogg, could be.
was that last shift? You remember that one?
818 it says.
Was it a parking garage maybe?
Oh, yeah.
I guess that would be last year, wouldn't it?
No, that's right. That'd be August 18th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're 9 now. I'm sorry.
I was thinking,
Go to my room. Yeah.
no, I don't have the specifics on that.
Okay.
I can find out and get it to
No,
you.
no, it's not a big deal.
Just one of the things that poses a big risk to us in EV fires is that stuff puts off some really nasty smoke.
Oh,
It
yeah.
can be toxic and,
And they run away.
yeah.
I was just reading a Metals magazine last night that the insurance companies are making really ridiculous suggestions to how dealers and others handle EVs and isolate and get them as far away from everything as they can.
Well, they're finding out they take like hundreds of thousands of gallons of Put some of those.
Oh, yeah.
EV fires.
Somebody said the best way to put them out is bury them in sand.
Yeah, they've done that, have them start back up. So, yeah, they're really dangerous. They can be.
Right, can be.
Yes. All right, that's all I got. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Questions from the audience?
Okay.
Will do. Thank you, guys.
Number 2, Wichita Police Department on the screen. You hear us?
Yes, hello. Hey, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So actually, to follow up a little bit with the arson question, I know that South CP officers, along with fire investigators and FBI, put a lot of time and effort. We were able to identify a small group of individuals that were responsible for the majority of them. We were able to get them arrested, and they're pushing charges on them right now, and they're locked away. So we've seen a huge decline in the arsons due to that fact. Just some obviously good news with that.
That's great.
Just some updates as far as PD is concerned. South CP officers, we're going to get 2 new officers starting next week. And one of our officers, Officer Stoll, is going to go from south to east. The 2 new guys that we're getting are currently out west, and they'll be starting here down on the south side next week. So in the academy, we have 36 officers, with 10 of those being females. We still have officers in the FTO phase, and they're doing very, very well. Really excited about just the progress that they're making and getting them out on their own. Just today, we did a career fair, set up in a couple different locations. Had people come in to talk to us about police officer, firefighter, and then any other city jobs that they wanted. Didn't have the turnout like we were hoping for, but obviously any turnout is better than nobody. So we're still just continuing to push, getting quality candidates in, continuing to replenish and restock our the officers. That way we can continue to fulfill and fill up the specialty units. As far as statistics are concerned, we were able to shut down the spike in stolen autos. We've got that to kind of taper off and be steady versus the high spike that we had last month. And then the Part 1 crimes are holding steady over the past month and are actually down from where we were at from last year, which is a very good sign. We have a lot of dedicated officers that are working really hard in those areas, focusing on the violent offenders and Part 1 crimes, making sure we identify people, get them held accountable for the things that they're doing. And then lastly, we are just preparing. It's next month. We got Open Streets ICT, October 13th. So we're kind of gearing up for that, getting ready to have a good time with the community, and just, yeah, enjoying ourselves out in the hopefully good weather. So that's all I have. If there's any questions or comments.
Any questions from the dad? No. Any questions from the public?
Monday night, did they catch the motorcycle that was doing about 100 miles an hour down Pawnee?
I'm going to be honest with you. I do not know. From what I read, or from the Interwatch, which puts out any police chases or anything like that, I didn't see anything in reference to it. So I have no idea.
Thought I was watching an episode of Cops there for a minute.
I know that we our chase policy is very strict, and we don't, especially motorcycles, do not try to chase them due to the inherent danger that can cause to the person obviously running and also anybody else involved.
Any other questions? I guess that's it. Thank you, officer.
Thank you, officer.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Mike, I got updates from Patrol East.
Pardon me?
Patrol East sent me written updates.
Or you got something to report? Okay,
Patrol East had their open house and their new station is fully operational at 5215 East Lincoln. They have been meeting with the crime analyst to establish specific areas that have high gun crime, so they can address those with evidence-based responses. The recent class of officers will be out in the field doing training in the next 2 months and then on the street on their own. The summer class of recruits has just. That's my email, sorry. The Patrol East, community policing and crime reduction teams, as well as other officers, have been working to address problem locations that are having issues during bar closing time on the weekends. And Patrol East has added its 5th community policing officer that will join the team next week. That's Officer Stull, as we're told, who will be covering beats 35 and 36. And they also included a reminder that Open Streets is on October 13th and they will be there. If you have questions for them, you can let me know and I will send them on.
that it? Okay, then we're on to, number 3, public library, my favorite report, because it's always gloom and doom, and it's always joyous to hear about.
All right, I am Robin from Walters Branch Library. First announcement, beginning September 9th, we will begin initiating auto renewals. When eligible materials are coming due, our software looks to see if there's a pull for that material. And then if there isn't one, it's going to automatically renew on the original due date so that you can have the most amount of time with your material. And then when your material is reached the maximum number of auto renewals, you'll be notified to return it. The only thing that this doesn't apply to is the interlibrary loans from other library systems in other cities and states. And those you must return on the designated due dates. And if you have any questions, you can call 316-261-8500 or speak with me or any other staff member the next time you visit. And then we have a big DIY day event coming up on November 2nd. It's gonna bring together makers, inventors, and creatives from around Wichita to highlight their unique projects and creations. And the library is also gonna be showcasing its makerspace, technology and maker equipment. There's going to be live music, food trucks, and it will be from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Advanced Learning Library downtown. Also in September, beginning on the 16th, customers can borrow birding backpacks, from the library. We'll have 4 backpacks in our Library of Things donated by the Kansas Audubon Society. They're appropriate for the whole family with 1 pair of adult binoculars and 2 pairs of children's-sized binoculars. And those are included along with several pamphlets and a backpack for easy transport, and they will be hitting the catalog here soon. Our podcast, Read, Return, Repeat, has a new episode now streaming. We interview author Alex White, a science fiction and horror writer, best known for the Salvager series and their tie-in novels for the Aliens and Star Trek franchises. In the latest episode, we're exploring Read ICT Category 6, a book set in space. And Alex talks about their newest novel, August Pitco and the Mechas, and you can access it and also learn more at wichitalibrary.org/podcast. In terms of Walters announcements, we just hosted another all-age game night yesterday, and next is planned for Tuesday, October 1st from 4:30 to 6:30. We will also have another community roundtable session for ages 15 and up from 4:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday, September 10th, so a little less than a week from now. It's a come and go event, and we encourage you to bring whatever project you're currently working on or make use of our small stash of yarn, crochet hooks, coloring books, and more. Please don't hesitate to come give it a try and to let your neighbors, family, and friends know about it too. And then very last program we'll be hosting at Walters this month will be our monthly Doc and Talk, and that'll be on Tuesday, September 24th from 5 to 6:45. We'll be watching The Wall short documentaries on the undocumented immigration crisis. It's a compilation of shorts on the current undocumented immigration crisis, touching topics such as the wall, the effects of family separation at the border, deportation, and DACA. And after, like normal, we will hold a small discussion on what we watched. That's all I have.
You said The Wall, I thought Pink Floyd.
Any questions from the dad?
Yes.
Give an example of an eligible material.
So say if you, checked out a book that was a new book, originally for only 14 days, and no one had a hold on it or was waiting for it. After the 14 days was up, it would renew for another 14 days, and then for another 14 days after that 14 days, and then it would be due.
So
after the
materials
30
are
days.
books.
Books, movies,
Ah,
things at the library,
okay.
things, basically anything.
We're not talking like laptops and stuff like that.
Some of the things in the library, things like the laptops will, it just depends on if anybody's waiting for them. The only category of things that won't is, things that we get from other libraries
Okay.
outside of Wichita Public.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public? Yay, thank you. We're on the public agenda. We have nobody scheduled on the board. And if we have anybody who wants to speak on the agenda items, you have 5 minutes. If you want to speak. Moving on. New business, bicycle master plan. You didn't ride a bike into the building?
I did not.
That would've been good. No, unicycle.
I heard you were a unicyclist.
You can turn that if you want to. Like everyone.
The quorum. The agility, yeah. Wherever you want.
You back up, so we have to back up.
Well, I'll try and stand out of the way. I'm Paul Gounsman, I'm the city engineer. I wanted to give the board an update on the Wichita Bicycle Plan. Tool Design Group has been working on this probably, year and a half. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. So we have, and we are hoping to finish it up towards and present it to city council towards the end of the year. We were supposed to be done with it this month, however, during the second round of public engagement, that's when we had the cyber incident. So we extended that time so that it would give citizens or whoever wanted to comment on the plan a little more time to do that. The plan has been in place since 2013. I was part of that plan as well. It's been 10 years since an update has been completed. This time around, we took a little bit different approach to public input. When we did the plan in 2013, we had a couple of public open houses, and it seemed like a lot of the folks that showed up were the bicycle community, and it kind of, dominated the meeting. There's a lot of streets that were listed on the plan. This time we tried to reach a little bit more different audience. The bike folks were still engaged, but we tried to do more pop-up events to get Nomar. We did the Open Streets ICT. I think we went out to Pedal Fest to get some more folks engaged, such as families, etc., to get there and so on. I'll go through some maps here, but there was 4 really rating criteria we went off of. That was safety, equity, trip potential, and public input. And we can go down. And then we kind of looked at, as we developed the plan, the Bike Ped Advisory Board, they meet monthly. They provide recommendations each year as we start programming the capital improvement program. They provide a letter to city council for, what they recommend for their consideration. We look at funding in the CIP. We do have a line item in the CIP for bicycle projects, and it's about every other year we have that program. $1 million to a little bit more. And we also use that money to leverage federal funding for projects if we can as well. We also look at opportunistic projects that we can do. We work with our maintenance folks, and when they do the outsourced pavement preservation program, If they will be overlaying the street, we look at traffic, counts, see if it makes sense to reduce the number of lanes and add bike, lanes to that as well. And then this is the draft priorities. We have some tiers, priority tiers, in tier 1, tier 2, and then we have some other tiers below that. There's approximately 34 miles within those tiers. And some of these you can, those again are based on public interest, equity, and those categories. So there's a lot on these maps, and I'm gonna pick them off a little bit each time. So the pinkish color on this map were those locations that the public thought were priority routes. To give you a little bit of reference, I know this is on the west side, but that's the proposed northwest bypass. They identified that. The big ditch comes up every time we do this. Where, you know, that's a question whether it can be put along there the way the land was acquired. I don't think it's for recreational activities. So, and then to the east, which we kind of have going on, the Redbud Trail, connect that. There's 3.5 miles that are unimproved. We have East 21st. So some of the pinkish colors are what they were proposing was, this is the Lino pathway connected to Prairie Sunset Trail. Again, we've kind of got that underway as well. Taking a look at the safety tiers, you can see in the different colors of blue, the darker the blue, the higher number of crashes, bicycle crashes within those areas. Some of those are kind of heavy. Along the Broadway corridor, West Douglas had quite a few. Being a traffic guy, any car crashes, I like looking at the crash rate and not the number of crashes, because the crash rate is based on the number of cyclists along that corridor and or number of vehicles. So there's an accident rate versus the number of crashes. So it's a different. You could have same vehicle to vehicle, Central and Broadway downtown have 14. Compared to Kellogg and Rock, if we have 14, you have a higher crash rate because you have fewer vehicles going through Central and Broadway. So it kind of makes, I'd like to look at the crash rates. So this is kind of the map they brought up with the safety tiers. You can slide on down. Again, the same colors, the blue colors for trip potentials. Again, some of the areas where you have a higher trip potential out towards Murdoch. Again, the Broadway corridor is pretty heavy. There's a lot of cyclists along that use the services along there. We looked at that as well.
Well, how do you measure that trip potential?
Thank you. It's based, part of it's based on cyclists and looking at connectivity to paths that we have and where we have gaps. So we kind of looked at all of that put together to connect. As we were going into this, I told Tool that one of the higher priorities is connectivity to existing paths that we have so that we can build a overall network instead of just having gaps.
It's
So
like
that
on
was-
Suzuki Street, I have never seen a bicycle.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you are correct. If I remember right, every north-south street on the 2013 plan, north-south street in downtown were on that plan. With this, we have taken a different approach and we feel that Broadway is the one that we need to make a more robust bicycle corridor, make it safer, and take those off the Topeka Market Lane And in fact, I'm doing that. I've talked to the Bike Ped Advisory Board saying, hey, you know, we are converting the streets downtown to two-way, you know. And I think this was the opportunity to remove those off the streets, because I agree, I've not seen anybody on Topeka, I see very few on Market.
Right.
And I think if we had a identified more south corridor for downtown, which is, and make it safer. So thank you for bringing that up, because I wanted to get that. Go on down. The next one was, based on equity, making sure that we're going across the board. Slide on down to the- Clear, but it overlays all of these, the dark blue, you know, the blue colors, equity, trip potential, and safety. So the red projects, red lines identify the highest ones. When you overlay all those, they are in the priority tier number 1. Now, don't catch me. And then priority 2 is in the magenta and pink, but we'll take Oliver, for example. It's listed, however, we can move either side of that if we don't think Oliver will work. You know, it's narrow lanes. You know, if we wanted to put bike lanes, we could narrow it down to 3 lanes. It carries a lot of traffic. Or, you know, this gives us where the corridor should be, but we can kind of go either side of it. So maybe we would look at Edgemore instead of Oliver, and maybe that still provides the north-south, but it carries less traffic. And it might be an option that we can look at. So we're not necessarily committed to these, but it gives us an idea of where the corridor should be. Lincoln's another example. You know, Mount Vernon, we're doing that. So, you know, if we're within a quarter mile of these designated routes, I think we're doing, you know, we could go through residential neighborhoods, et cetera. So this gives us a pretty good guideline of where we need to put them. You know, again, 13th was listed, but we have this red bud trail just right within that corridor. So that's 13th. Really need to do that. But again, we'll look at that. We'll look at those connections as we implement this plan.
What about the purple part of Maple? And towards the center.
So again, I think that was, that's identified in our capital improvement program. We do have that project programmed, and that's something that if we look at, do we look at reducing that from a 4-lane to a 3-lane?
I've seen people trying to ride bikes there. But
That's
the way
not
they,
lanes,
yeah,
just-
it's not the greatest road, and
It
there's
is.
cars parked out there and rocks in a weird.
It is. You know, we have Douglas, in CIP from Seneca to Meridian. That one we are reconfiguring it so that we truly have an identified bike areas, share lanes. Identified parking, so. You know, Maple, you know, if we get this Prairie Sunset, which would be kind of on the connection. We have this portion under construction now. We have a connection out here that could serve that Maple Street. So that's on street. This one here. This is mainly on street. It'll go by Friends University, Newman University. So get those everybody connected. And I think if you go on down, this is just kind of stripping off all those colors and really kind of highlights what we have. These projects are with the purple and the yellow around those. Those are other ones that we're currently working on. In design and on to construction. I think with this plan, it's more targeted than the 2013 plan, so I feel better about this one. Again, we'll look at opportunistic projects. You know, when we do a capital improvement program for a project, especially in the outlying areas, we constructed 6-foot sidewalk and a 10-foot path. So, and that is what we talked to other people and cyclists, families, they want to take their, out and ride on the side path of the buildings. Probably trying to balance that as much as we can. And that is what I think that's the last slide. So that is what I have for you. If you have any guesses.
Where do you get your crash rates from?
We get that from the police department.
Okay, so the guy I saw run into a pole the other day while he's on his bike didn't count it right.
Maybe not.
Probably.
Yeah.
Self-report.
There. He said, I wasn't paying
Any more
attention, I was in a car.
Probably on the phone.
Any other questions from Deb? I have a question. With all the effort and work you're putting into this, are there any associations or organizations that we can contact, or they can contact us, have bicycle races like they, not like Tour de France, but I mean, there are a lot of them around the country sometimes. Is that an option?
So I think Bike Walk Wichita puts one together. It's kind of a Derby Wichita or something. And I think they put it together in the past and they have contacted us about routes. So yes, it's possible.
Bring a lot of tourists in.
Right.
And they're hungry because they've been riding their bikes out.
Right, yes.
Okay, anybody got a question from the public? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I come up with all these idiotic questions that people would rather not hear. But that's what comes in my brain. If I'm operating my motor vehicle, be it a motorcycle or a Humvee or whatever, in a bike lane, am I a violator?
Yes.
Okay. If I'm riding my bicycle on a street that has both bike lanes, but I'm driving down the middle of the automobile lane, am I a violator?
You know, I have seen that.
A lot.
Keep the comments to
That's
myself.
okay, you're fine.
I have seen, when we constructed this portion of Mount Vernon,
Mhm.
we put on the on-street bike lanes.
Right.
And I would drive down from one of these meetings. And I see young 18, 30, they are riding down the sidewalk and I'm thinking, damn, we've got a bike lane right there. Why are you on the side?
Well, you mentioned, you mentioned market, I go up and frequently and there'll be some idiot riding bike, go right down the middle of the street when there's bike lanes.
So.
I'm sorry, some citizen.
No, Market is that was one of the
Well,
ones.
you mentioned it.
Well, yeah, that was one of the ones that we put in 2015. And we tried to get as many projects. Some of those, in hindsight, and we heard it from cyclists, even though, especially north of probably Murdoch, it really gets, it's not a buffer between the bike lane and the vehicle traffic, and they would rather ride with the vehicle traffic than in the bike. And that's the cyclist, because they feel safer out there. So again, it goes back to trying to do something more robust on one street instead of not really well done.
Well, I know times have changed a lot, but when I was a bicycle engine, I didn't need this. I went all over town on surface streets. And I guess I know, there weren't a bunch of druggies and drugs out there.
And I think that goes back to what Janet had said, if, and I believe this, when we convert the streets to two-way downtown, I think number one, that's gonna slow the traffic down, and it will make it safer for cyclists to use the street. I think of St. Francis Street, when you redid that north of Douglas, I would come with that people don't drive that street more than 20 miles an hour because of the angle parking.
Yeah.
So I think you can get those speeds reduced to that. I think it's safe for the cyclists to use the lane traffic.
I have a couple more questions. Are we gonna require the cyclists to license their bikes, and are we going to require them to wear light colored clothes?
That has been the topic of discussion.
I sure had my licenses for mine every year.
I think that would be only fair, and then they can pay for their repairs to their bicycle pad.
Thank you.
You got a question, Dick? Richard?
It's okay.
I got kind of a question answered. When I was a kid, they had bicycle licenses, they kind of did away with it. You cannot enforce it in today's world. And that's the bottom line. And we don't have the manpower, don't have the police power, we don't have anybody that can do it. That's the bottom line.
We could do volunteers, I'll volunteer.
There.
And with the priority list that the police maintains, I'm sure bicycle accidents and bicycle enforcement is probably way down on the bottom of the list.
Well, but that would protect the car driver as well, because if I saw Mike on a bicycle and he cut out in front of me in that dark shirt, I might not see him and I might hit him.
Yeah.
You think I'm out there riding any bicycles?
I was using you as an example, so
Which are all ready to gun me down without the darkness.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Time to print paper maps. For the bike house. Maps.
No.
We used to have them, but then they
We
started
did,
shipping.
and it's like KDOT had printed some of those every morning. I mean, they were on bicycle.
Really popular.
They were.
GIS have. I think GIS might have. The bike map?
Like that's are on GIS, but I think Janet's talking about having like one that you can take
Yeah,
with you. You have like a
carry
local
with you.
council one.
Moving on.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Mike's ruling with that iron fist, I like.
But board agenda 7, which brings Mike to the podium. Remember, you got a 5-minute limit.
Hey, you guys did that to me, if you don't listen my chops too much, we might be out
We
here,
don't care.
out of here in under an hour. This has been a very well-run meeting, Mike, I appreciate it. Okay, so just a couple of updates. We did enter an agreement with the school board to buy, the school. Part on, North Broadway there, or along North Broadway, for the MAC. We also allotted about, a little over $2 million in ARPA funding to help, build the fences around there, get the fire suppressant system going, because it's kind of scary. It was grandfathered in, and all these kids were sitting in the school without a fire suppressant system. We can't do that in order to get this shelter open, so we have to have that before. Our goal is still to have it done, by Thanksgiving and have it up and ready for an emergency shelter by Thanksgiving. We're gonna push forward the best we can to get that, make that happen. It did go before the state legislative council, they okayed it or declined on the interim agreement or purchase it. So we have to, there's another little bit that we have to do with HUD, make sure the environmental reports are done. But the rest of it is just us getting in there, getting things going, so.
Meridian and whatever, MacArthur. I thought that was
Oh, that's the mental health hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is different than that.
Okay.
We hope to have some connection with them, but yeah.
Eat your cookies, Paul.
I'm going there.
And you may have seen this on the news too, we've talked about the Plainview Center, getting a community center built in Plainview, something that's more reflective of, what Becca works in now is like the size of this room. And if you compare it to other resource centers around the city, it's pretty striking, the comparison there, so. We're exploring the possibility of buying Jardine.
yes.
Because Jardine closed down, it's a big empty building, we can't have empty buildings in the middle of Plainview.
No.
So we are going back and forth with the school district, they originally had it as part of their bond issue that they were gonna bring out to a vote. They redid it, they looked at some things, and they did make Plainview Jardine available, so just wanted to give you an update on that, I can't promise we're going in there. It's a big building, there would be a lot of great opportunities to partner with organizations. Goodwill has expressed some interest in bringing some job training there. There are some groups around Plainview via boxing, Pastor Moore, they all have ideas about ways to continue a lot of the progress we've had in Plainview, and there has been over the last couple of years, so I just wanted to update you guys on that. if you were at a national night out event and I didn't show up to it, I apologize, we had a 10-hour and 10-minute city council meeting that day. So we started at 9 o'clock and we got done a little after 7 o'clock, so that put a damper on everybody's attempts to get out to National Night Out, so I apologize for that. Believe me, if I could have cut out at 5 o'clock, I would have, but it's part of the job, you know, my part-time job over here. I didn't get any overtime for that day. We did pass the budget here recently. I tried to keep you guys as updated as I could on it. We've gone without any major cuts this year, and it looks like that's gonna be the same next year. We did do some preemptive cuts. I didn't vote for all of them because I wanted more information about a number of them before we made the cuts. But, I don't think it would qualify as anything substantial that we've cut from the budget so far. Next year's budget, we have a little bit of work to do to close that gap. But I've also told you guys over the past couple of years, we have about more than 30 million in a reserve right now. Because we try to be good stewards with your money. We have a surplus, we're not just gonna go spend it on projects. If we do have cuts coming up, we wanna step it down. So we do have this reserve to help us step down some of the services, because I hear from people all the time about sweeping the streets. I hear all the time about a number of issues, dead tree removal. We wanna make sure that, we protect the services as best as we can. So 26 and 27 is where it's gonna get a little hairy. We'll see if I'm here to make any budget adjustments at that time, but, we got a little bit of work coming up, and we also have some public discussion we need to have as a community as far as, do we possibly move to a sales tax to pay for some of our CIP projects? Oklahoma City has a MAX plan where they put projects out there and people vote. You know, do you wanna have a quarter sales tax or an 8th sales tax, 8-cent sales tax to pay for maybe something like what's going on at Clap Park now, an accessible playground. Start paying for some of our projects that way as opposed to the way we do it currently to help relieve some of the budget. So there's gonna be some discussion about that. Some people have also talked about raising the mill levy. It has not been raised in over 30 years. We also have one of the lowest mill levies in Kansas. So, but again, it's public discussion, what's important to you. Some of the main drivers that have pushed this budget like this has been increases in the salaries of police officers and firefighters, first responders. We were falling way behind on that, so we made sure to pay our people what they deserve. It also helps with recruiting. We've heard the numbers coming out of the recruiting classes. They've gotten larger and larger, and we have a higher quality of recruit too in the fire department too. So that's all going to be in the next couple of years. Again, I tell you all the time, please let me know what you're thinking on these, what you want to see protected, what you want to see, what you think we can live without, taxes raised, taxes cut, what comes with the tax cuts. I did not vote in favor of the revenue neutral rate. That does not make sense to me. Because if we go to revenue neutral, we maintain the same budget that we had the year before. Inflation goes up, salaries go up. So you'd be getting less services for the exact same amount of budget, the exact same amount of revenue, and we would also be beholden to that the next year as well. So to me, that's unworkable. I voted against that. I've gotten hit over the head by Americans for Prosperity because apparently we're raising taxes on everybody. We have different definitions. And I want to be very conscious because I do understand there's a lot of people out there who it does impact. A lot of people are on fixed incomes. A year ago, we did pass some rebates for people who qualify for the homestead tax and qualify for the disabled veterans tax rate. So we want to be as mindful as we can of people and not hurt people because there are people who are just barely making it as it is. And property taxes going up on them, then they lose their house. Then the house goes to a rental company. And then we have such a problem with how many rentals we have in our district already. So protect people the best we can. But again, we got to run the city somewhat efficiently, and that's what you guys expect from us. So the budget did pass, 6-1, I think, was the final vote. And we will, work on it again next year and the year after, and boy, it's one of my favorite times in the council, right? The last thing here real quick, we had an interesting council meeting yesterday pertaining to, the clubhouse over at Clap Park.
Yes.
Duck has been renting it out for the last 3 years. And I guess we did make our staff, or we, the city, made a mistake. We didn't raise the rental rate like we should have, 30% a year. And that caused a little bit of consternation from some of the council members. But we also were looking to extend the current contract, raise it up a couple of $100 extra to $500 for the first 5 years, and then options for $550 for the next following 5 years. If you've been out to Clap Park, you see the number of disc golfers we have out there. It's more than twice what the golfers. It's being used all the time. If you really want to get down to it, compare Clap Park to someplace like Herman Hill Park. The number of unhoused people there, that's almost non-existent at Clap Park because it's constantly being used. And a big part of that is the person that we have in the clubhouse who has a disc golf store there. So there's going to be some discussion about in the future. We ended up turning down the contract extension. We did extend it for pay month by month for up to a year while we do some more diligence as to, are we going to put out an RFP? Are we going to work on this contract and whatnot? My concern with this is that we have somebody there who is doing a good job cleaning, because he also goes out and he picks up limbs. He cleans out the creek. He organizes cleanups there. We have the all access playground going in here, and the dirt's already been moving. If you guys have been by Clap Park, the dirt's moving. Looks like we're going to get that in by the end of the year. Ribbon cutting next year. But we need somebody there to also keep an eye on the playground too. It's right just south of the clubhouse there. Now, people have different ideas. They don't feel like it's proper to have something like this, no bid contract. I respect that. Thing I want to be just real intentional about is we can't just let some big business come in and take it over and not help with the same services that we currently have. That's my concern, is that it's going to come down to just being the bottom dollar, as opposed to what else can you bring along. If we make $3,000 extra a year on another occupant, that's fine. But if we don't have somebody who's maintaining the area, we don't have somebody who's opening the area up for National Night Out, because we had National Night Out there a couple of times during my couple of years here in office. If we don't continue to have that partnership with somebody in that space, that's just going to be real detrimental to our community and our neighborhoods around it. So if we go out to an RFP, what I'd like is, and I'm working, we're going to talk to a couple of the surrounding neighborhood associations as well, but I'd really like your guys' input, and I want to put it on next month's agenda to get feedback from our dad. What do you guys want to see there? What do you guys want to see as far as the occupant goes? If we have an RFP, what else do you want to include in there? Because we can design an RFP to try and make it more community based, as opposed to just a bottom dollar or a dollar sign bottom line. So just think about that over the next month. What things do you want to see there? How do you want to see that space activated? If we did have an RFP, what would you like included in there? Would it make sense to have it? Somebody has to have something in there that's based off of what we have at the park. So, you know, disc golf could be there. We're getting a pollinator garden in there, something like that. Do you want to see it just strictly bottom dollar? If that's your opinion, I'd love to hear that opinion as well. But just what are your expectations of what do you guys really want to see going in there? What should be our target if we do out for an RFP? So again, think about, yeah, Mike.
Yeah, another thing I like you to consider going over is the history. Once they closed the golf course, the city walked away from that clubhouse. I didn't see him do anything until I call him Mr. Doug.
Yeah.
Came in and wanted to put in the cages and put in the golf. He's done a lot of things that people forgot that he did. And it wasn't his fault they weren't building correctly.
Right.
So he's, like I say, we need to keep in mind the overall picture from the very start, where we are now.
And a little bit of the history, and a lot of this was before I was on the council. Mike, you're the steward of Platt Park, so I'm sure you know.
Across the street from it. So.
Yeah, right across the street. 2019, when they closed down the golf course, they mothballed the clubhouse for about 2 years, I believe, and that just sat there. I believe Duck approached the city, the Parks Department with a suggestion, hey, I can take this, I can turn it into something. We can get disc golf going here. It's been great. I'm a disc golfer. I've only played one time in the last almost 3 years, so I don't really have a dog in this fight. Platt Park is too big for me anyways. I'm not that good of a disc golfer. But so the Parks Department did work with them. $300 a month lease is what it was for 3 years. It was supposed to go up 30% a year, and apparently it just slipped under our under our noses, the city's nose, and we weren't paying attention enough, I guess. And the increase never happened. It would be about $560, I think, right now. I couldn't tell you for sure what it'd be right now. I think it's around $560, and that's what he's also agreed to pay going forward. Is the rate that it should be for the next couple of months while we work this out. So it was a 3-year contract, and it just came up, and the Parks Department looked at it and they said, he's doing a good job there. Let's just go ahead and extend it as opposed to putting it out for an RFP. If I just straight honest with you, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'll bring this up, rink management. They were doing a good job with the ice rink until about a decade ago, and went out for an RFP, and we ended up putting a different entity in there. And that's in the news all the time about what happened after that. So that's my feeling, is that we just can't go with the bottom line being the dollar amount. We have to look at exactly all the other aspects that come into it. So, yeah, just a little bit of background. If you have anything else to add, Mike had like 2,000 golf balls from the old golf course stored up, so.
Which I donated to the police department.
Yeah.
But and Mr. Duck is very accommodating. He hasn't got a lot of space, but if you wanna have a small function there, you can bring your own food. You need more than sell beverages, but you can bring in, he's been just bent over backwards to be a good neighbor as well as a steward keeper of the park.
Yeah, and again, separate from that too, just, he does a great job, but again, what does the community want to see there? What are our expectations? So again,
Another bottom line, if you let in another bid, that could open the floodgates for development, and I'm gonna fight development in that 97 acres until the day I die.
thanks, I will as well until you guys vote me out of office, so.
Well, I think what I would like to see in there is what has already been worked on and developed and rehashed among the people that live around there, which is the plan that is currently being constructed. And I think having ducks in there, because that property is unique globally as a destination course, potential for many millions of revenue every year coming into Wichita for tournaments that are at a national level. I mean, it's amazing that this thing is right here in Wichita. And I wouldn't want to see anything come in there and distract or detract. It just wouldn't make sense to have somebody like an entertainment provider of some sort come in there that would be attractive of what that ground is really good for.
Yeah. Mike?
Well, it's like I stressed before, if somebody wants to put on a concert and bring a big name in, let's don't build a $300,000 shell until we see if we can draw a crowd. People will sit on blankets And you can build a portable stage with a semi-tractor trailer. And if you get the crowds, then you got some incentive to maybe develop a shell like they did in Britannica, but you don't spend
That
much.
shell make it into the final, I thought that shell was scrapped.
No, it's not in there. It might,
It's not,
maybe they'll revisit it further down the road
Yeah, I
in the
don't-
next batch, but.
that would be a.
And we have a stage, our parks department has a stage too that we can bring out or something like
Well, they've,
that. Oh, sorry.
well,
Go ahead.
okay, we've spent $1 million on consulting fees. I mean, really, and nothing's really come out of that. And what is the potential of the revenue to be generated from Clark Park, just from Mr. Duff? What is he, I mean, what kind of income is he going to get for his $500 a month?
I could not tell you that. That's,
Except
if he wants to share that info, he can.
If you've been in there though, he has equipment stock for people that are interested in the sport. He does have beverages and I think hot dogs. Now, what happens when they have a tournament there? I don't know. The parking lot is full, so they're
Yeah.
spending some money with him.
My nephew just went to a tournament somewhere around Kansas City this weekend. And it was huge, you know? I mean, that's got to be a money-making situation. I don't know. I don't know how anybody came up with the $300 or the $500, but it does sound like a sweetheart deal to me. And he's a good neighbor. You know, Mike knows a lot more about that than I do, but it just seems, it didn't seem like it was as transparent as it should have been, which, you know, we've had those problems in the past.
I'm not arguing for him, but well, we didn't know what the potential was until he installed all the equipment. I mean, maybe he is making $10,000 on a tournament. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just know
But
that,
it also, in transparency with the city, it's like the River Festival, the River Project 20 years ago when they were supposed to make 300,000 a year. And the firm that put that in did the books in such a way they were lucky they got $1. So the city, I think, looks for an easy route for somebody to take over property and maintain it that they don't have to. So
And
it's.
that was part of the bugaboo at the time when they closed the golf course. People were all up in arms about taxpayers paying for it and all. And we were looking for somebody to get in there and try to have a win to keep it as a park. A win would be someone that would go into that business and contribute to it being a park, and that's what happened. And so there was maybe a little too much eagerness to get somebody in there. We didn't think maybe about the RFP or the stuff like that, but it was a win to get ducks in there, and hopefully that can stay.
All right, Richard.
Speaking on the landlord side, if he went in and he did all the modifications and he's taking care of it on his own, that's worth a bunch, because I guarantee you, if the city just went in there and picked up tree limbs, we couldn't do it for that $500 a month.
Yeah.
So that part there, I think some of that, especially if you do put it out for bid, that needs to be in a contract that they have to do all that. As far as tournaments go, they could reach a deal with them where they got $1 a head for whoever entered the tournament. And something that can help your budget, Tennessee still does this. If you're out of state and you go to a motel in Tennessee, you're gonna pay anywhere from $8 to $10 extra for a room, because they call it something, but it's just a tax for being out of state that goes to that community, whatever community you're in, and that's something the city of Wichita needs to look at doing. And get some of the people that's coming into town to help us out. That Clap Park, I see people over there every night, walking around, throwing their discs and doing whatever. Doesn't interest me. My grandson's real big into it, but if that guy's taking care of the park, which I've noticed a big improvement in it, I say leave the guy alone. Yeah.
Well, we'll keep that in mind if you're not here next month during the discussion. But yeah, I mean, let's keep this conversation going. You guys think about it for a month and, it'll just be receiving comments from you guys, but I really want to know just what the community thinks, because I think that things might look good, you know, it's hard for me to make a judgment on something in the fifth district. I don't live there. I don't have my neighbors who are concerned about this park or this place, or I don't know the issues in and out. So I want to make sure that we are not forgotten in this discussion, because that's what happens here in South Wichita all the time. So let's make it loud. Let's make sure that we're taken care of. Let's make sure that it's our community who leads this discussion, and it's not just like I said, a dollars and cents bottom line. So
Would be the odds of reaching out and getting him here to answer some of the questions.
yeah, we can bring him in.
I think that would be a big plus.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's Dan, that is known that, members of the community wanted that to happen and have him here, so it's not me.
And we won't be too hostile.
Yeah, no,
Ah,
yeah, I'm not gonna get behind it, I'm expressing my concerns, but, I just want a clean, open process for it to be able to be heard around this, so. With that,
one more,
shucks, I went over,
I got
3 minutes over.
one last.
one more opportunity for big schools by ignorance.
Yeah.
Revenue rate neutral rate, you know, I'm on the district, the drainage district, the taxpayer fund. You know, we cut our mill levy 2 years in a row because we had some excess funds. Now we're trapped,
Right,
you know, but you said you can't raise, I thought there's a factor that you can raise it by every year, am I wrong?
well, you have to vote to do it.
Yes, but without bouncing off the revenue neutral rate ceiling.
From my understanding, if we go revenue neutral, that automatically moves our mill levy down. So the mill levy will be stuck at where we lower the revenue neutral rate, and then we would have to vote in the future to raise it again. And what that does is that turns a $10 million deficit in 2 years into a $20 million deficit.
I thought we were allowed to increase our budget by a fixed amount. And then whatever the mill levy was. Obviously, I may be wrong.
We can look into that a little bit. But
We'll be finding out.
yeah, there you go.
The lady up there at the bank will tell us.
Mike, you had
Thank you.
something else? Yes.
Yeah, the whole idea behind the DAB board is to come up with ideas, present them to the councilman, and hopefully be presented to the city. And of course, I've harped on this for years. I think we need a better land use program. You can't stop people from expanding the city, but you can slow it down or control it where the services can keep up. And I was wondering, with the real estate agents, is there anybody working on all the empty buildings in town, trying to come up with businesses that want to expand or businesses that want to start up, and they know where they're at, what area of costs there are, so that we have a way of building up the interior of the city out rather than building new every time you, I never did quite understand what they did at Harry Knowles. They tore down a four-plex office building and built a new one. And it's still got for rent signs in every one of the 5 windows. I mean,
I know we have a real estate department. I think they mostly deal with city property. So I think they leave something like that more to the private market. I can look into that though and see, do we ever try and make connections, or
Yeah.
do we have something that all the vacant properties are listed? So I'll look into that a little.
We don't have a vacant property
Registry.
registry of any kind. The closest thing you would come to is the land bank. Cause they're always looking at vacant properties to see if they can utilize them for that work, but. So our housing office would be the closest thing, but they don't maintain a vacant housing registry. They just, when they can, dabble. There's a couple of different nonprofit organizations that do that work in bits and pieces. I don't think there's any that one who does the entirety of Wichita, but I know a couple different groups that focus on like the neighborhoods that they impact most. who've done that work. Lang Real Estate has helped a lot with that, helping different organizations maintain that, so.
Okay,
Lang probably has a pretty good list overall, but yeah, the city itself doesn't really keep one.
thank you.
They have a lot of companies that do what you're saying. Problem is, we're getting, everybody's buying off the internet now, so we're losing market share on the storefront buildings. And it's tightening up more and more and more. You see it going out all the time. Number one, between the theft and the internet, it's hard for mom and pop to make it. And I'm real good friends with Phil, who owns Hub Hardware. And he's, when he's done, it'll be shut down.
You have anything else, Mike? You want to-
No,
Any more questions for Mike from the board?
I hope to see you guys in a month, and I hope the Chiefs are.
You want me to make your motion?
Huh?
I think make your motion.
I was gonna ask anybody have questions on here.
Till next week.
Moving on, we need a motion to suspend.
Sure.
Second.
And I'm gonna tell you a secret to running a meeting.
What?
Wait for a pause, and if the pause is long enough, either start applauding or say, we're moving on.
Yeah.
We got a second.
Guys, second, y'all vote. You didn't
All in favor?
Sorry. Moving on. All in favor, say aye.
I like flawless meeting until the end.
Well, I want to go get it.